In my service to the United States military, I got from jumping out of planes. I had a number of accidents which put me in a lot of pain. So this pain that I was in, you know, I was taking a lot of painkillers, and then eventually I hit a point where over-the-counter meds weren't working anymore. So they gave me opioids, and I began on a regimen of opioids, and about 6 months into taking these opioids, I accidentally overdosed, and that's when it happened. That's what led to these events. I take these opioids, I take two, and I thought, it's not doing anything. It's not working. So about 15 minutes later, I take two more, and now I realize I'm high off the opioids, but the pain is still there. And I continue to get ready, and I was so high off of the opioids, I would say, that I continue to get ready, and I realize I'm in pain, and I forget that I take the ones before and I take two more, which was a lot of, in a 45-minute period, that was a lot of opioid. And that's when it all started. I started to vomit. I started to sweat profusely. I vomited everything that I had inside of me. By this time, the pain from just vomiting nothing was like knives stabbing in me, and I'm in and out of consciousness. By this time, I'm on the floor, and I wake up. I'm sorry. I'm on the floor, and I come out of my body. When I say I wake up, that's basically what happened. 1 minute I'm fighting to stay alive, and the next minute I'm out of my body and looking at myself on the floor. And then I'm whisked down this tunnel, and this tunnel takes me super hyper speed, and next thing you know, I'm in front of these beings. And I always talk about the three beings that I stood in front of. And these three beings, they began to, first of all, I should say, this was a beautiful feeling. The feeling was, when I got there, the feeling was amazing. It was the best feeling I ever felt in all of my life. I realized I was dead and dying. I started to lose all of my holdings on to the things that were of this world, the world I just left. I started to lose my attachments to, my house, cars, and things like that, even family members. And at this point, the only thing I had held on to in my memory was my son, who was 4 years old at the time. So now I'm in front of these beings, and I'm angry. I'm angry because I realize I'm dying. I have to leave my son behind in this world, I don't want to leave my youngest son behind, my only son behind. So I realize I'm dying, I'm angry, and now I begin, these three beings that were in front of me, two moved to the side. One stayed right with me, and we watched my life review. Basically, it was a life review. We watched what I did wrong, what I did right. When it came to the things that I had done wrong, I would get a slight chastisement, but it wasn't nothing condemning me. It was more like, the next time that you come into this situation, do it this way. It would be best to do it this way. And so, but in my mind, in my thinking, I was convicted that I had done the wrong, so it was more pressing on me. It was my own self, my own feeling, and also I could feel the harm that I had done to people. You could actually feel that, and so in my mind, I was feeling all this pain and guilt for doing what I had done wrong. On the other hand, all the good things that I did, it was like that was perfect, that was well done, and not only that, you get to feel the gratitude that the person you helped felt, and it spreads exponentially throughout the world as light and love. And just like the darkness spreads too, if you do wrong, it spreads. But so I get into this, I see my life review, and then it's like at that point they say, okay, account for what you have done. Can you speak on your life review? And that's when I was still a little angry. I was mad about the bad things I did, but I was angry that I was dying and leaving my son behind. And that's when I just I said to the beings, I said, look, you, whoever's running this thing, that's exactly how I remember saying it. You or whoever's running this thing, you sent me down there and you never showed me how to do it. Now I stand before you and you say I did it wrong. I said, if I go with you, grit, fine, because this is the most wonderful feeling I've ever felt in my existence. It felt like I was home. It felt like I had finally arrived to the place where I'm supposed to be in my journey in this life that I was walking. So what it meant, what they showed me is that I was going to reincarnate and I was going to go back and come back into the world as a child and learn those lessons that I hadn't learned in this life. And so when I said, look, if I go with you, fine. But if you send me back and teach me how to do it, I'll do it right this time. And with that, that's when a whole another level of thing happened. And that is when about a million voices and beings of light appeared in the background of this backdrop of darkness, which the place that I was in. They appeared and they began to sing or put words, wisdom, knowledge into my head. And it was a lot of stuff. And as they're doing that, these other three beings are speaking to me as well. So I'm taking in all of this, and they're telling me that, okay, you're going to go back and you're going to teach the knowledge that we are putting into you right now. You're going to teach the world, and the world is, humanity is they're not using their free will. They're being corralled into a way of thinking that they are using their free will. They're not given all of the choices to use their free will, and therefore they're leading themselves down a path of destruction. And there was many things that were going on at that same time, many instructions that they were giving me. And this was the deal. The deal was that I can go back. If I teach this, if I teach what I have learned here, if I taught people, if I showed them a better way. And so I took the deal, I came back because I wanted, and my motivation was to get back was for my son, and that's an interesting story in itself. Like my son right now, that was 10 years ago it happened. My son right now he goes to the school as prestigious school of performing arts. He always wanted to be in the performing arts field. He's a dancer, he's a singer, he's an actor. He had to get accepted into this school, and he's fulfilling his dream. Even this Christmas that passed, as a freshman in high school, he landed the lead role as the Nutcracker, But I have taught him this thing since I came back. I've been teaching him this same knowledge, that the visualization, the power of I am, these things that I learned that are out here that many don't know about, many do, the power to overcome any obstacle, anything that comes in your way. We were given a gift there, and this is some of the things that I was taught. We were given a gift, all of us, to be here in this realm is a gift. We were chosen, every last one of us, to be here. How many is there? 8 billion or so. And we all were given a power to overcome anything that stood in our way while we came here. We just need to know how to tap into that power. And I was taught how to tap into that power, which, daily, it changed my whole life, my whole everything, daily. And then I had to come back and study the true history of our existence. I had to study and search for the true history and not these fluffed up stories that we hear. I had to learn many things. It was a lot of myself being by myself. I was still, when I overdosed, I was still having back issues. I couldn't walk. I was barely walking. I was barely getting around it. I wasn't working. I was out of work. So I spent a lot of time alone and working on the things that I was taught, and so through all this time alone, when I came back, so, oh, I'm sorry. I skip around a lot with this story. My son, so they told me, okay, the way you go back from here is put your mind on the one thing that you love, after they gave me this knowledge. Well, oh, the other thing they told me that I carry with me to this day, and that is they told me to love everything. And this is how it all came to me, just like this: love everything, for I am everything. Fear nothing, for fear and doubt are the destroyer of mankind. And know that I am God. And with that, they told me to put my mind on the one thing that I love in this world, which was my son. I put my mind on my son, and I come back. I wake up in my body in pain, all of the pain. So that was the beginning of this whole awakening. That woke me up to many things, these gifts. Okay, I started to have intuition. This intuition was off the chain. I had an affinity with nature. I started to learn how to just ask God and it will come. Ask the universe and it'll come. Just manifesting with my mind. I was pretty much couldn't do much of anything. And at this time I was separated from my wife, living alone in my home. And my son, I had shared custody, so he would be here 3 days a week. And so I honed these skills. I had so much time to myself that I could hone these skills, that I cut off the outside world. And I learned something that, that 40 days and 40 nights that Jesus spent in the wilderness when he was fasted and hungered, I studied that in my earlier days. And what I come to understand is, if you have one of those experiences and you get to come to know who you are, and that's what I had to do. I had to know who I was. I was 40 something years old at the time. I didn't know who I truly was. And most people don't, who walk this planet, this earth, this realm. They don't know who they truly are. They don't know their true power, and that they are one with this thing we call God, and that it is not separate from us, and that whatever we ask of it, we'll get. There's different techniques and things that I've learned. Like, I never speak of myself in the negative, because what I learned is that this power, this thing we call God, it does not understand the word don't, won't, can't. So if you say, please don't let me fail, it doesn't understand don't. So if you take don't out of that sentence, you're saying, please let me fail again. Never even speak the word fail if you want to succeed. Never even let it come into your mouth. Yes, I understand there are entrepreneurs who will tell you need to fail. Yes, you do. Because what I'm saying is, never speak it. Failure will come to those who are trying to get to the higher level. It always happens when you're working out and you're training to be that athlete. But when you get to that spot, you will succeed. And this is the thing. Motivation is the thing that I do one of the best of. I motivate people to be their best self. We have a saying in my house: be great. And I don't tell them to be good. I don't tell my children to be good. I tell them to be great. And the reply to that is, I am. Because that's how you speak your life into existence. The more you speak about the negative things that are happening to you, the more negative you get. These are secrets that I was taught when I was there, and I live by them. And I can say this: since that experience, I had to go through some trials and some things. I understand what divine providence is. I know what it is to ask God for a thing and it shows up at your doorstep without asking any man, any person. I know what it is to do that. I know what it is to not have any money, cash, or food, and asking God to provide, and he provides it. I get a little teared up because those were some of the hardest times. And continue to cling to that thing called the universe, God, or whatever. And it every time. So I know what that is. Now in this time, right now, this day, I have mastered all of those financial things because I asked for that wisdom and it was given to me, how to master these financial things, how to live without needing this thing called money. And one of the secrets that I was taught is that money is a spirit and money can hear you. So if you're constantly blaming money for your woes in life, I don't think money wants to hang around you. I wouldn't want to hang around a person who was constantly blaming me for their woes in life. So I had to reconcile with money. I was shown how to reconcile with money and tell it, look, I apologize for, treating you bad, blaming you for everything that's wrong in my life, And once I came and understood that this is all energy, this is all spiritual, it comes easy now. I understand it, For those who are perhaps, most people want to know the secrets when they want to know the secrets of how to get money and how to have these gifts of intuition, astral projection, and things like that. Well, the secret to becoming wealthy is don't put the wealthy down. Because if you're putting down the wealthy, the universe understands that you are not cool with wealthy people. So why would it make you wealthy? And here's the other thing about wealth that I had to learn. And that is that wealth is a state of mind. Once you put yourself in the state of mind of wealth, it's just perpetual. You're the magnet pulling in it. Wealth, happiness. It's just with everything. Happiness, love, success, money. You're the magnet. So whatever you're putting out in word, thought, or deed, you get back. So if you're putting out bad thoughts, you're getting back bad things. Putting out good thoughts, you're getting back good things.
I think money, for one, is such a fascinating topic. We haven't talked about it much on the podcast, but it seems to me that the people that have the least amount of it, they're the ones that have it always on their minds, right? Because I know a lot of our audience will have this question, how do we begin to call money in if we have this broken mentality about money, where we've grown up, a lot of us have grown up, not maybe in the best conditions, with a lot of lack around us. So how do we repair that relationship with money?
Okay, I'll start by speaking on this thing called poverty consciousness. And this poverty consciousness is something, first of all, this is about that thing where we are corralled into a way of thinking, We were made to think that that this is a place of lack and a place of need. When we come here, we're made to think that there is lack in the world and that there is not enough. We're made to think that. So once that kicks in, it's a perpetual thing. So we have to get away from the thinking that there is lack in this realm called Earth. That thing that sent us down here that we call God, it made it so abundant here that we would never lack. Yet we're in a system that will tell us that there is lack and there is not. So once you understand, overstand that there is no lack in this world, there is abundance everywhere. There might be lack in the little tiny space of the world where you sit in, but the rest of this world is abundant. When you get that mentality, it opens your mind up to the wealth that is here. Now, when I speak of wealth and riches, I speak of two different things. The wealth is knowing, the wealth is the like I said, a state of mind, knowing that there is no lack in this world. There is only abundance. And that's the way that thing we call God made it. And so first of all, we have to understand that there is wealth in this world, and we can partake of it. This is there's scriptures written in many different religions about the abundance of this place, the abundance and the wealth that we are provided by that thing that we call God. And so that's the first step. Two, we have to understand that this money system is not natural. It's not ours. We're in a money system that is it was already constructed before we got here. And this money system was designed to only make the people who created the money system keep the money. So that is another aspect of this thing that I had to understand. I had to understand that this is not my money. The true wealth. And true wealth, I was just having a meditation on this. True wealth is in the land. It's in the things that we pull out of this earth. That's where the true wealth is. The paper, no, it can be ripped up and thrown away. But the true wealth is what we pull out of this land, this realm we call earth. So I had to understand those things. Yet I had to understand I have to operate within this system. So what I would say, since we have to operate in this system, it is good to have good credit, to work on it. It took me a while to figure that out, work on your credit, because that's how their system works. And if you want to keep up, you can use their system and their credit to purchase things that come from the earth, that are the true wealth. And that's what I was doing. I was purchasing the true wealth, which is land, precious metals, things like that, with their system, using their system, to purchase these things. I've come to understand that its currency I never say spend. I'm spending. I'm going to spend, because spend means to deplete. It means to get rid of. You circulate this currency. This is a I would call a spiritual thing. We circulate this currency. And when you pay with gratitude. Pay with gratitude that you are able to pay. And these things help me to get to a point to where finances, I don't worry about them, and these things help me. Those little principles help me, I should say this, the last one, because there are things in life, when you want to live this life that I live, and it's called a prosperous life, a happy life. There are things. One is your body. These are the things: your body, your mind, your spirit. These things you have to get right if you want to live a happy life. I'm still going. Relationships with people. We are all to grow up and find a mate, and so in most religions we're supposed to find a mate and to make a family and do those things. So relationships. But the last one for me, I mastered all of these. I can say I've come to master all. The last one was money. It was always money. And one of the things I can say why is I was vibrating at this high of a level, and money is a low vibrational thing. It's of low vibration. So I kept shunning and putting money off. I don't, I want to master money. Why haven't universe, you sent me back. I'm doing all these things. I'm helping people, but why haven't I mastered money? And then there was times when I was ready to go the clairvoyant way and start charging people for readings and things like that. And then I'd meditate and I'd hear, no, that's not the way you're going to do it. That's not the way you're going to do it. So, and in time, money became something that I understood and that I understand, and I teach people, about this money, this thing, money, and how it is energy, and we can manipulate energy. We can manipulate the ether with our minds, and the way we do that is we get right with ourselves. First, you gotta go within. You gotta go within. You have to be honest with yourself. I have another practice that I do since I put, when I came back the first time, I put a mirror directly in front of my bathroom toilet. A 5-foot mirror, and it sits there because I need to be honest with that person in the mirror. Every time that I sit in my most vulnerable spot, I need to be honest with that person. I need to look that person in the eye, and I've been through 2 marriages. I got married and divorced very quickly after my near-death experience. I asked the universe for a wife, a beautiful wife, but I didn't ask for, I understand you got to ask for more than just the beautiful wife. She has to have everything. So I remember I had that thing there, before she even moved in my home, I had it there. That all of a sudden things just start showing up in front of that mirror, because people don't want to look at their most vulnerable self and ask the true questions. Am I helping mankind out? Was I nice to that person? Am I treating people the way that I'm supposed to be treating them? And this all comes from that near-death experience. All of this stuff comes from that, because I understand that I have to stand back before those beings, this thing we call God, or whatever that thing is. There's no getting out of this for anybody. I got this other saying, nobody is getting out of here alive. We all have to go. The body has to stay here, and we all have to go. And since I made this deal with this thing called God, it is, I go at this with reckless abandon. I talk to everybody about this. I teach everybody what I've learned. If you have a conversation with me, it may be a 3-hour conversation. If you don't say, I gotta go, because I understand that I made a promise, and I have to stand before that thing we call God, and that this is my motivation to help the world, to help as many people as I can.
Brilliant. It's such a good answer, and I think so many of the things you said are just worth going deeper into.
Mm-hmm.
But one particular thing that really stuck with me was that we're put on this earth, but with the ability to overcome everything that's in our way.
Yes.
And so often, I think you'll agree with me, it does not feel that way.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yes.
how do we go about this when we have this insurmountable challenge that we think we're just not equipped to deal with, not able, we do not have the resources to? How do we find that power and that resourcefulness in ourselves?
Okay, so the first thing, the most pressing thing that I've come to learn is that we all have an inner voice telling us, when we set out to do a goal, there is this tiny other voice, not that beautiful, sweet voice, that one that tells you it can't be done or it's not going to work. That voice we have to silence at every turn. And this is how we overcome the insurmountable, because we create our reality with our mind. And if we do not subdue that voice that tells us that it can't be done, then we won't subdue the problem, the issue. Once you subdue that voice in your mind, because it comes up a lot. And what I had to understand is that I studied that we have some like 60,000 thoughts run through our minds. And most of those thoughts are telling us what we can't do, or what we've done wrong, or something that happened to us in the past that affects us now that was negative. So what I've come to understand and come to do is, anytime that voice rises in my head, and this comes with awareness. Awareness will allow you to see that voice every time it rises. And the way you get awareness is to go within, find out who you are, find out your connection to that thing we call God, and your awareness grows exponentially. Now, with that, you silence that voice at every turn. I hear that voice at every turn. I'm not infallible to that thing that scientists will call it that fight or flight thing that kept us from being devoured when we first got here as primitive men, primitive human. So it always warns us, but in a negative way, that other voice. Now there is the other voice, the one that I call your inner self, your higher self, your guardian angel, which I have come to know that Metatron is the guardian angel that has been with me since the near-death experience. It revealed itself to me some 6 months later after this, when I went into deep meditation. But what you have to do is silence. And I used to say, cut it out like cancer, like it's a cancer, that voice that tells you no. And not only that, there are people around you, when you come up against a thing, because they don't believe that they can do it, they will send out a negative thought for you, even though they want you to succeed. They'll send out the negative energy to you. So I learned to not tell people what is going on in my life, because there are those who love you that still don't have this power to overcome that negative thought of it can't be done, So there's that voice, and that's one of the ways. Now the other way that I manipulate, I call manipulate the ether, or bring into existence the things that I want, and that is I do a lot of deep transcendental meditations. I go into deep meditation because one of the things, the reasons why I found meditation was because I wanted to feel the feeling, that loving feeling that I felt when I was in that place, again. And I found that meditation, deep meditation. Now, meditation, I didn't know anything about this stuff. So I began to understand that meditation, you get into this relaxed state. And I used to think, well, that's it. You just get into a relaxed state. No, that's when the beauty starts. That's when there's how can I call it? It's encrypted in many things that teaches us on earth how to do this. And one of them is, how can I explain it? When you go into meditation, whatever you ask for in heaven, I'll give to you on earth, is one of the scriptures in the Christian Bible. Well, that's what meditation is. You go into meditation, and then once you get into that state, you visualize the outcome of the thing that you want. And while you're in that meditation, you may even hear that one voice fighting with you, the one that telling you, no, it can't happen. You have to silence that one while you're in meditation sometimes. And you visualize it, and you hold that thought. You hold that thing. And I, for one, I confirm it with my guardian angel, Metatron. I confirm it. Is this going to happen the way I want it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. There's many times I've had, things. There was once I wanted to buy this house, and this guy, he wanted cash. He wanted like $50,000 cash. And I said, you know what? I had talked to Metatron about it. Metatron said, yeah, it's yours. I called the guy up. I said, would you like to do a finance deal? And the guy was like, no, don't want to do it. Sorry. And so I said, I'm going to give you my number, I'm going to give you some time. Maybe if you don't sell it, give me a call back. But at the same time, I was meditating. Metatron said, this house is yours. Don't worry about it. I go back into meditation. He said, don't worry about it. It's yours. Next thing you know, the guy calls me up about 2 weeks later. He's like, what, that deal you were talking about, you still want to do it? So this is how it works, even though there are things, that obstacles, you can't look at the obstacles. You can't look at the no. Somebody will tell you no. Go back into meditation and confirm it with that thing we call God or your higher self, and then come back and see it again, see it work the way you want. Now, I can say this much too. What's for you is for you, and no one can take it away.
And about the house example, I loved it. And I'm thinking, when you were told this is for you, it's going to happen, but the reality, the person was saying no.
Yeah.
Did you have faith that even though the reality, the real world was saying, no, that's not going to happen, it's not for you, did you have faith that it will work out?
I did, because at that my guardian angel was very new, and it was vibrant, and I listened to everything it said. I listened to everything it said. I took everything it said as the truth, and I followed every word. And at that point, I just knew the guy would call me back. For some reason, while I was in the conversation, it was given to me, because I could have just hung up and said, all right, okay. But for some reason, it was downloaded into my head. You know what? Take a couple, if you don't sell it and you think you want to make a deal, give me a call back. And I left my number with him. But that came to me on the fly while I was talking to him. So I know it was divine. A lot of this stuff comes on the fly from my guardian angel.
So beautiful. And I have to say, Jeff, it's so interesting to be here talking to you about these spiritual topics,
Yes, ma'am.
knowing that your background is in the military, right, and serving your country. So it almost seems like polar opposites, not quite, but it seems like worlds apart, let's say.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about what drove you, which I can only imagine as a very difficult, hard life that's probably is also taking a big toll on your health, and how that life has changed after your near-death experience?
So what led me to go into the military was, at that time, there really weren't any jobs. And I was a 19-year-old kid with a daughter, and I wanted to do right by my daughter and her mother. And, that's why I joined. And then I said, you know what? If I'm going to join, I want some adventure. So I went airborne, jumping out of planes. I had a wonderful tour of service, I was around a bunch of highly professional individuals. They loved what they did at the time, and so did I. I can say this. Since my near-death experience, when people say thank you for your service, what I've learned since then is that I was in the service of something that I could say that the universe and what I learned up there is that it's not in line with what I was in. I don't know how to explain it but I walk away from all violence, all war. I since my near-death experience, I was this paratrooper. I was, as General Hugh Shelton used to say, hard as woodpecker lips. I'm a gardener now. I went from beans and bullets to gardener. I love nature. I'll hug a tree. I hug trees. I get in tune with things like that. I'm passive when it comes to things like violence and things like that. I don't condone it. I don't condone anybody going into the military. It was something that I did at the time that I didn't know. It was one of those things that them beings told me, that we're being corralled into a way of thinking, and we think that we're making the right choices, but we're not. That's what I can say about it. I don't condone it, war, killing, all of that, Yeah.
And because your line of work was very much preparing for the worst, so I can imagine, I don't know if you have seen or you were preparing to see, but it's usually the worst of humanity.
Yeah.
I can imagine there's a lot of trauma that builds up when that's your line of work, because the atrocities of the world are just ever present in your daily life, in your daily work.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with that trauma? Because the person I'm speaking to today just seems like a very well-balanced individual, right? And I can only assume that the kind of work you did brings a lot of trauma and needs a lot of healing afterwards.
Yeah, I have PTSD. I was diagnosed as a PTSD by the VA or whatever. The way I deal with all of it, transcendental meditation, and knowing that there is a thing that we call God, and that once you've seen the other side and once you've died, man, it's like for me, my experience, I can't say about everybody's experience, because I have seen so many experiences since mine, I have become a student of near-death experiences. But once you see the other side, you know, there's not much that can fray or scare, or I don't know what to say. Nothing, not much scares you. You're fearless because you understand that this body is just a vessel, and you're eternal. And if you don't get it right this time, you'll get it right from now or eons from now, and you'll go home. You know, you'll go home to that thing we call God. So for me, you know, I don't know how to explain the fact that I don't have any fears of much of anything anymore. You know, there was courage. Courage was something I had in the 82nd. Courage is, you know, knowing that you have to do, being scared yet knowing that you have to do it, and you do it. You know, that was courage. But this is fearless. You know, I could soar with eagles. I could swim with dolphins. You know, there's nothing that is more fearful than living a life of that I regret when it's over. That's the most fearful for me, you know. But the rest of it, and that means that I'm going to be fearless in everything I do. I hope that answered the question. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely did. My last question for you, Jeff, is I think there's so much that we can learn from you, and your work is teaching us about how to fix our relationships with, well, we've talked about money for sure, but how to fix our lives, how to get everything right from wherever we are at right now. How can we connect with you and with your work?
All right, what I got is Jeff Cleckley at Facebook. You know, if you go to Facebook, you can get me there. We have iwalkamongstgods.com. That's the name of my book. I Walk Amongst Gods. I wrote the book, and it teaches a lot. It goes into depth on a lot of things and how we can overcome in this world, and walk with ease in this world. And that's one of the things that they gave me is, you know, when they told me all those three things: love everything, fear nothing, and know that I am God. They told me that with a promise that my life would be easy if I did those things. You know, my life would be easy. I Walk Amongst Gods. That was a book. Trebuchet Literary Agency. They approached me with the deal on I Walk Amongst Gods. You can go to the website at I Walk Amongst Gods, or you can reach me, like I said, on Facebook. And also the book it's been out for a few months. It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. I Walk Amongst Gods.com. The audio book is there as well. Like I said, this is my mission. My journey is to help, and that's what I do. That's what I do.